We're going to go into the backyard now, and it has a totally different feeling than the front yard. So welcome to our backyard garden. These metal flowers came from Cape Cod, and we actually shipped them back on the Alaska Airlines in a golf club box. You can see all of this rock border. This was all completely redone. I think we did about 700 feet of rock border this year. Our cameraman has an idea. He's going to give you a panorama of the backyard from the upper deck. This was pretty heavily wooded except for where you see the gravel, and those were where the electrical lines were buried. So we've tried to keep this natural. We've had to take out a few trees over the years that have just not survived. Looks better from the ground than it does from the top up here. Oh, here's one rose that's blooming. This is Love. And this is a baby bathtub that my husband gave me for Christmas one year from Europe. And I think he got it at Ozarks Americana. And this is osteosperm bright purple lights. We're going next down to what I call the shade bed. Kaden will show you what it looks like from above. He and I redid this bed about 2 years ago. And a huge rock down there. We ended up standing in a hole up to our knees and got it out, just the two of us. And so it's our pride and joy. We planted a lot of hostas in here. When we first bought the house, this was grassy. And one time when Dennis was out of town, I dug it all up and turned it into a bed. So it has ferns, hosta, and I'll show you some of the other plants when we do. This retaining wall landscaping, the same people that did the rock borders on the 3 main beds in the front. So it's 20 years old. This is our shade bed. It has ferns and hostas. I've got Blue, Royal Standard, Jurassic Park, Halcyon, and Francie in here. And I have a still bee called Vision in White. They're just starting to bloom. The other two are covered by the ferns. I'm going to have to move them. This is Canadian white violet. In the spring, this is covered with hundreds and hundreds of these little white flowers. And then a few of them will continue to bloom all summer long. This is more Lamium Ghost. And some more Ghost. The 3 lilacs are Donald Wyman. Unfortunately, last year and this year, they've had that lilac leaf roller, or whatever it's called. So these 3 didn't bloom. I'm not sure whether they're going to next year or not. And this is my infamous Bridge to Nowhere. This was also built by Steelhead. So I've had this bridge probably 19 years. Have some more rusty metal And this is our dry creek bed. Whenever we would find a rock while we were gardening, we'd throw it in this natural indenture, and so we called it a dry creek bed. We have a fish in it, a couple of more fish down the way. And then there's a bear. You can't see very well right now. Bear fishing. We'll try to get closer to it later. It's what I call the wooded area. It's got mostly ferns, trees, and it has bunchberry or ground dogwood. And I'll show you a close-up picture of it as we get on the other side. We're going to take a walk through one of the wooded paths. Here's another piece of yard art. This came from one of the garden shows at the Botanical Gardens. This is our garden, very far back of the yard. Gets a lot of sun. We had cabbage and cauliflower in here. This is the potato bed. These are 8 by 8 by 3 railroad ties. This is our blueberry bed. Kaden and I planted some new varieties of blueberries this year. I don't remember exactly what they were, but we weren't getting a lot of berries. And I found out that you need to have different varieties to cross-pollinate. So I'm hoping to get more blueberries. This is a Velosa lilac. And this is the ground dogwood or the bunchberry. In the spring, it is bright white little flowers. And then in the fall, we have, they have thousands of little red berries on them. This is a forsythia that I moved, so it's not dead yet, but I cut it back drastically. It was in the back bed and it was just too crowded, so I've been having to move things around. Here's another pathway. Again, some of our Asian-inspired lanterns, and then we have a little Buddha statue over there. And the Alaska mosquito had to make an appearance. Here's the dry creek bed, and here's our fishing bear. We found this out of state. I can't remember exactly where, but we liked it. So again, we shipped it back on Alaska Airlines. Up above a little bit, there's some tall rusted metal flowers. Those came from Costco several years ago. So you get a little bit better view of the shadiness, the ferns, the ground dogwood, and the dry creek bed. There's another little pathway here through the woods. And then we're back out to the veggie beds. We'll do this bed first. These are sugar peas and snap peas, broccoli, and we harvested probably 4 or 5. Broccoli does really good for us. And then the next bed is squash and zucchini. I don't know, can you do this backboard, Kaden? So this is a Velosa. This is Minuet Preston, and I left some of the flowers on it because they were still opening up. We have Forget-Me-Not, and this is Stasis Superba. It's a Betony, Betony. It's just starting to flower. More irises. I have two dwarf Korean lilacs, this one and the one in the back. And in the far corner is another Miss Kim lilac. The one behind the whirligig is a Donald Wyman Preston. And this one is a Minuet Preston. The peonies are just about to start blooming. This one is Sarah Bernhardt, and so is the tall one. And it's got quite a few buds on it right now. Hopefully they'll open within the next few days if we don't get another pounding rain. This is Salvia. And this is Cordalis Blue Panda. The blue sphere also came from Falk's nursery, but they haven't had the cobalt blue in quite a while. And then another Japanese lantern that came from there also. Back behind is our raspberry bed. We usually get tons of raspberries, and we limbed the trees up better this year, early in the year. So hopefully we'll get more raspberries because the bed has more sun. This is a type of bellflower. It's Campanula glomerata. You have irises in the back. These are still doing pretty good. And there are quite a few Himalayan blue poppies. There's one back in the back. Here is a white Himalayan poppy. It's got a couple of blooms on it, and it's got some more blooms down here. This is a Laura Dessert Peony. And a red leaf rose. The rose on the trellis is another pole star. I'm not sure you can see it with the sun, but it gets hundreds of those little white flowers on it. I had some allium planted, and you can see a few of them. They pretty much lost their color, but they still have some architectural interest. And the other peonies I have back in the back, you can't really see them because of the irises, are Mr. Ed, Immaculée, Raspberry Sunday, and another Laura Dessert. This is another veggie bed. This has onions and carrots, lettuce, celery, beets, spinach, I think. Anything else that I missed? Oh, I found these this year on Amazon. They come from, it was Etsy, and they're silverware that's been flattened, and you can get any kind of plant name on it you want. So I got some for all the veggies. There are some spoons in here someplace. That's okay, you don't have to show them. The whirligig we also got in Arizona. We go to Arizona frequently, except for this year. This is the other end of the dry creek bed. Some more of the...
Is the copper successful keeping slugs out?
Yes, we have never had a slug problem. We have to replace it every couple of years. It's just copper tape. I think the brand name is Corys, C-O-R-Y-S. We did replace it this year. It eventually corrodes a little bit, and then it'll start disintegrating. But I bought 20 rolls a couple of weeks ago at Alaska Mill and Feed. Here's some more geraniums that have kind of gone wild. Ferns. This is a plant called Burnet, B-U-R-N-E-T. It's kind of hard to see it. It's a really deep kind of burgundy. It's just starting to bloom. And this is a Philopendula or meadowsweet. And I have to share with you my story on the bottle tree. It came from Mississippi, a little place called Hernando, and it's supposed to attract evil spirits and trap them in the bottles and keep your home and yard safe. And blue bottles especially work well. And then there's a witch's ball hanging in the tree. It's not quite as deep blue. Oh, Dennis wants me to tell you the whole story. The tree was not expensive to buy. Unfortunately, it cost 6 times what I paid for it to ship it up here. We thought we could take it back on Alaska Airlines, but it was too big. The diameter was too big. So we had to ship it UPS, I think, and it was very expensive, but I still like it. This is sort of a shady bed. There's a dwarf Korean lilac, geraniums. This is a little bit of bishop's weed, lots of ferns, some more yard art. I also like garden signs. So our yard's pretty steep. It drops off quite a bit from the front yard back here. Over here we have some more of the metal flowers from Arizona, from Tucson. Another ceramic ball, and mainly just ferns. On this trellis is Virginia creeper. Kaden and I planted this a couple of years ago. I had a pole star rose here, but it didn't survive winter one year. I don't know if you can see up here, we have a wind chime that Dennis gave me one year for Christmas. And the heart, can you get that up there? That also came from Arizona. And the little rain chain, I don't remember where we got it. It was some road trip we were doing. We saw it hanging outside of a shop and stopped. I have a little ceramic, like concrete cherub. There was another one we missed down there. But I just leave all this stuff out the last few years. It's been too much trouble to take it in and out. And some more metal garden art. This bed also has some mountain bluebells. They're not blooming right now. I think they finished. There's some more mountain bluebells that are in the big shaded bed. Okay, so turn them this way. That's basically it. Does anyone have any questions? Are they still there?
That was really wonderful, Linda. Thank you so much. I'm sure we'll have some questions here. One question I have: how much time do you spend working on it?
It varies. I do all of the pruning of the flower beds and the weeding, most of the weeding of the veggie beds. And most of the time I mow the grass. So it can be hours. The last Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I spent a total of 12 hours out in the yard because I was pruning the lilacs back. And I was trying to get them right as the blooms were fading. So hopefully I'll get more blooms next year. So it kind of goes in spurts. I weed at least twice a week. I walk through the wooded area, make sure there's no stray grass growing or dandelions growing. So probably routine maintenance is probably 2 to 3 hours twice a week if I'm not mowing the grass.
Virginia creeper.
Virginia creeper came from Alaska milling feed. It turns a bright red. The leaves are just beautiful in the fall.
How do you keep bishop's weed and lamium from taking over beds?
I pull them. Lamium doesn't spread. There's 2 patches in the shade bed in the back, and then that one fairly good sized patch in the front, and it tends to kind of stay there. If it gets to some place I don't want it, I'll just pull it out and try to replant it or throw it away. Bishop's weed, this bed used to have quite a bit of it down at the end where it gets more sun in the afternoon, but over the years it's kind of thinned out, so I don't have a problem with that at all.
I'll read the comments here, or Kaden can read them. Really nice. Thanks for sharing your beautiful yard. Tremendous knowledge and great sense of humor, and it's a really great way to start our virtual tours. I think you've set a really high standard for us.
Oh, you tend to have a more critical eye if someone new is coming into your space. But I enjoy sharing the gardens. They're a lot of work, and as we get older, we may have to change some of the plants that we have, but for right now, we can maintain it and take care of it.
I was wondering what the cylinders in the vegetable garden were for.
Oh, those are actually tree guards. And Dennis read that if you protect the stems of the celery, they will be more tender. And he's tried various things in the past. He's tried milk jugs, the plastic kind, cutting the top and the bottom off and letting the celery grow up through there. But they're really ugly in the garden. So I found some green tree guards. You just wrap them around the tree. There's some on the trees in the front because the moose tend to come in and pull the bark off. They can't get back here because of the fences. But we're trying that this year to see if it keeps the celery more tender. Thanks for bringing that up. I should have mentioned it because it does look kind of funny. All right, everyone. Bye. Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye. Thanks so much.